While we're on the subject of MFT or Micro Four Thirds, Z-Cam has an incredible new camera coming, the E2-M5G. This thing has a global shutter with dual gain ISO, and the owner is claiming that it will have the most dynamic range in their entire lineup. That's including the F6 Pro, which is a full frame or large format. Large format is the proper filmmaking term for full frame, which shouldn't even be called full frame, but that's a minor annoyance at this point. The F6 is their full frame camera, and it's rated at 15 stops of dynamic range. The S6 and the S6G, which is their Super 35 models, are rated at 14 stops. This will be a very huge first for Micro Four Thirds for a Micro Four Thirds camera. Something that's outperforming the larger sensors in dynamic range. At at the moment, it's a bit hard to believe, but I look forward to seeing all the tests. Zcam is doing really big things. Every other month, I hear them getting used on more sets, and they're being used as crash cams, FPVs, and from what I'm hearing lately, even A and B cams for some of the smaller budget movies. They're one of my favorite companies to follow in the cinema camera space. Next up is Blackmagic. They just revealed their new cinematography 6k full frame, which looks fantastic, but a lot of people are complaining about it not being a box camera. But I say fuck those people. If they went with a box design, that would force them to spend money on new material, added manufacturing, and as silly as it sounds, they'd have to spend money on designing that box. Well, guess who'd have to pay for those added expenses? The consumer, us. Well, not me. I'm not going to buy this camera. So, you know, whoever's going to buy this camera. Also, the box camera field is scattered with Z-cams, Kid Affinities, Reds, and a couple of Panasonics. What's Blackmagic actually going to do against them? Just add another option for people? I mean, no, they'll just be like everyone else at that point. They're not going to. That's not going to guarantee any sales. No, they have to stick with a certain niche, and so far it's worked for them. While we're on the subject of Blackmagic, they also low key released another camera. This camera I'm really looking forward to reading about because it's the Micro Studio Camera 4K G2. I don't know anything about the camera except it has dual native ISO, 12 GSDI, and it's touted to have 13 stops of dynamic range, and the sucker is only $1,000. I have so many questions about this camera. I am so ready to see more about this thing because I don't know. I'm excited about it. Does it have the old school Fairchild Super 16 sensor? Those sensors were really ARRI-like. I'd love to see that. Or does it have the 4K sensor? It kind of sounds like it kind of has that. It actually has that sensor in a smaller body, but who really knows? Well, I guess they know. They know who they know. That's who knows. The last camera that I want to talk about is now my new dream camera, the Sony Burano. This is basically a mini Venice, and I'm all about that camera. If I had $25,000 to spend on a camera, I'd buy that camera immediately. But I don't, so I'm just gonna have to dream about it every single night, unless they want to sell me one. So there's a bunch of other new cameras that were released this month. I don't really care about any of them, not enough to really acknowledge them. So I didn't really react to them, so I'm not gonna bother reacting to them or talking about them in any way. The whole thing with all these cameras being released is giving me some real bad gas, and I'm completely out of Pepto Bismol. I'm not looking to buy any of the newer cameras. What I'm looking for is a great budget cinema camera. I don't need a great photography camera. I already have a great photography camera. The EM1 is still my favorite camera of all time. And I do have an FX3. It's great, but this is strictly for work. I don't really want anything to happen to it. It's expensive, and so basically I take it to and from work, and that's really it. Nothing in between. I literally do not take it out for anything else. I don't make a lot of money, so I have to be really cautious with it. I'm definitely aiming for something cheaper. I'm looking into used Blackmagic pockets, Zcam E2s, maybe even try to get the GH5S again. I definitely want an MFD sensor. I love the format. I've always viewed viewed it as the digital Super 16 since there are no digital Super 16 sensors anymore. I mean, if you compare Super 35 film and every variation of them, they're all smaller than Super 35 sensors now. So it's always made sense to me for MFT to be kind of that equivalent. I'm kind of rambling now, so I think that's really it. Thanks for hanging out with me. It's always a pleasure to have you guys and gals or anyone that's watching. It's always a pleasure to have you guys on here. Have a wonderful day. Show this a little bit.